Hello, my name is William Allington, and I will be talking to you about alternative fuel. The price of gasoline in Wisconsin is approximately $3.44 to $3.56 as of September 2013. Petroleum gasoline is expensive and is not only hurting our wallets, but emissions caused by combustible fossil fuels are having a detrimentally great impact on our environment as well. We live in a world where the need for having clean or cleaner burning vehicle fuels are not only essential for reducing our carbon footprints, but also minimizing environmental degradation. Currently, there are a number of options for alternative fuels, and with advancements in technology, will make these sources more accessible. Some of these fuels include electricity, hydrogen, biodiesel, and natural gas. Many people have a number of questions regarding these alternative fuels, some of which include: how do these fuels work? How are these fuels implemented, and how much is it going to cost? And also, how accessible are these fuels? What are these alternative fuels? Electricity is one of the front runners of alternative fuels, and their acceptance is growing. According to J.D. Power and Associates, the number of hybrid cars on the road will triple, going from about 3% to roughly 9%. Electricity can be obtained from a number of sources including solar energy, wind energy, coal, oil, nuclear energy, and water energy. The U.S. Energy Information Administration stated in 2011 that 42% of the nation's electrical energy was generated by coal, natural gas output was 25%, 19% was nuclear energy, and less than 1% was produced by means of petroleum. Another 13% was generated by renewable energy sources that include wind, geothermal, hydropower, and solar power. Thanks to current and future legislation, these renewable sources of energy are growing to encompass the need for energy demands. Another alternative fuel is hydrogen. Hydrogen is the most bounteous element in the whole universe. This element is not usually alone, but is often found bonded with other elements, resulting in a process of extraction. Currently, 95% of the hydrogen produced in the United States comes from steam reforming methane. A major advantage of hydrogen is that it produces zero to near zero emissions. Biodiesel is a renewable form of fuel that is produced from vegetable oils, recycled grease, and animal fats. This fuel is produced domestically and offers a cleaner burning alternative to petroleum diesel. There are a variety of different concentrated blends that range from B100, pure biodiesel, to B2, 2% bio and 98% petroleum, with B20 the most common in the United States. Natural gas is another fuel to consider. This fuel is non-toxic and odorless and comes in two flavors, compressed and liquefied. Both of these forms are produced domestically, clean burning, lower in price, and readily available. How are these fuels implemented, and how much is it going to cost? One of the biggest alternative options to fuel with regard to electricity would be the hybrid vehicle. Hybrid vehicles use a standard combustion engine, which either uses alternative fuels or petroleum. The conventional engine is coupled with an electric motor that implements a battery that stores energy. The battery supplies energy that reduces the size of the combustion engine, resulting in less gas being needed to supply power. According to CarsDirect.com, the average price of hybrids on the road is $23,000 to $35,000. The price tags of these vehicles could be considerably higher than their standard petroleum brothers, but in some circumstances, the overall savings with the high fuel economy could be worth it. Also, there are certain states that give tax incentives, making buying a hybrid a little bit more rewarding. hydrogen uses a completely different propulsion system than standard conventional vehicles. According to AFDC, this propulsion system can be 2 to 3 times more efficient than gasoline and produce little to no damaging exhaust. Hydrogen uses what is called a fuel cell, which stores the fuel being used in the vehicle. The most commonly seen fuel cell is the polymer electrolyte membrane. A PEM fuel cell uses an electrolyte membrane which is placed in between a positive electrode and a negative electrode. Hydrogen is introduced to the positive and oxygen to the negative. The hydrogen then wants to travel over to the negative electrode, where the middle membrane then strips the electrons from the hydrogen molecules. According to an article from extremetech.com, the price of these vehicles is in the upper $100,000 range. Hydrogen fuel currently costs around $1 per 1.8 kilogram, which is the equivalent to 1 gallon. Low production of vehicles and the relatively newness of hydrogen-based cars makes this vehicle type not so feasible for the average consumer, but as this technology picks up steam, could dramatically reduce the price. Biodiesel can be used in most diesel vehicles without any sort of modification. This is mainly for biodiesel blends of 5 to 20% biodiesel. There is also a way to convert a standard diesel engine to accept recycled grease used in restaurants. The cost of low biodiesel blends is roughly the same price as standard diesel. The higher the blends, let's say B100, which is 100% bio, costs around $1 more per gallon. Natural gas vehicles use cylinders to store this fuel type as compressed gas or liquefied gas. The price of this fuel varies greatly from state to state, probably depending on how rich in natural gas that state actually is. The average price of this fuel is approximately $7.66 per 1,000 cubic feet. The United States is heavily rich with natural gas and will likely become a major source of energy for years to come, for it allows us to produce domestically and not have to depend on foreign oil. How accessible are these fuels? The acceptance of electric charging stations is growing considerably in the United States. A majority of the recharging process for electric cars can be done at home. According to an article from ibtimes.com, there were only 12 rapid charging stations in the US in 2012, and in 2013 that number grew to 154. This number is purportedly going to increase exponentially over the next decade as electric-based vehicles become more popular. There are currently only 10 hydrogen fueling stations in America right now, with 9 of these being located on the West Coast and only 1 located in South Carolina. This makes buying a hydrogen vehicle very inaccessible at the moment for almost all consumers. The hydrogen infrastructure is still quite early in its life and will take considerable development to improve accessibility. Biodiesel fueling stations are located all around the entire United States, making them a fairly accessible fuel. There are currently 324 stations in America. Some parts of the country have considerably more stations, especially in the South, and a fair amount on the West Coast. Also, if you have a converted diesel engine that accepts recycled grease, you can get fuel from really anywhere in the country. Currently, there are 605 natural gas refueling stations in the nation. Most of these are found on the West Coast, East Coast, Michigan, and Oklahoma. As our energy needs shift from foreign oils to domestically produced natural gas, we will see these stations becoming a more integral part of our fueling infrastructure. As the population continues to increase, the demand for energy will also escalate. With increased energy needs, we must also think about the detrimental effects that petroleum-based fuels are having on our environment. Not only must we think about our habitat, but also our economy. Domestically producing fuels for vehicles will be essential as we hopefully wean off our reliance on foreign oil. Also consider that petroleum gasoline is based on a source that is finite, while there are some alternative fuels that are refined from renewable and recyclable resources. There is still much needed development and research to make these fuels truly viable and cost efficient. With the help of current and potential future legislation, our nation could radically change our fuel system infrastructure and implementation. ushering in a new age of clean-burning, cost-effective, dynamic, and domestically produced goods that could fuel America for many, many years to come.